Evening, everyone. I am calling this meeting to order. We are the Historic Districts Review Board. I'm Cecilia Rios, the chair, and Melissa. May we have a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Chair Rios,
Here.
Vice Chair Katz,
Here.
Member Beachside,
Here.
Member Bienvenue,
Here.
Member Guida,
Here.
Member Larson. She's excused.
She is excused.
Okay, and Member Roybal.
Excused as well.
Thank you. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Are there any changes to the agenda, staff or board members?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Lisa,
We have one change to the agenda, and that is that case item number G3, case 2020-254 HDRB is going to be postponed this evening.
okay, thank you. Any further changes? If not, I will entertain a motion, please. And board members, I'm going to remind you about two things. When you make a motion, please indicate your name and also remember to mute and unmute. Thank you.
I would,
there a
this is
motion to
Frank, I
approve?
would move to approve the agenda as amended.
Jennifer, second.
Roll call vote, please.
Yes, Member Beachside,
Yes.
Member Bienvenue,
Yes.
Member Guida,
Yes.
Member Katz.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you, Melissa. We
You're
have minutes. Next, we have minutes of July 14th, 2020. Are there any changes to these minutes? I don't see any raised hands. I do see John Benvenue, Member Benvenue.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. On page 38, 4 lines down, the word tort, T-O-R-T, should be tolling, T-O-L-L-I-N-G. So I would ask Sally to confirm that.
I'm sorry, we're in this, yes. Thank you, John. Excellent.
Thank you. Anything else, Member Benvenue?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Any other changes? Anybody else?
Sorry, Cecilia, I can't figure out how to raise my hand tonight. But I do have one change. This is Jennifer.
Okay, see on the bottom, Jennifer, you just hit that where it says raise hand under participants.
I know,
Or,
for some reason, I don't have that screen tonight. I'm
You
sorry.
may have to open your participant screen.
Oh, thank you. I forgot, it's been so long. All right, on page 38, in the 7th paragraph, the second sentence begins with this. For clarity, if you could please replace this with the preservation of public hearings. Thank you.
any other changes, board members? Member Beachside, you don't have any further changes? Okay, she's muted.
Madam Chair, I did notice on the index page
Yes, Lisa.
that there is a typo for this case. 1160 Camino de Cruz Blanca is, the Camino is
Oh, yes. Oh, good catch.
messed up. Does that make sense, Melissa?
Yes, that does make sense. Thank you.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, anybody else? If not, I will entertain a motion to adopt these minutes as amended.
This is Anthony. I move to adopt the minutes as amended.
Member Beachside,
Member Beachside, seconds.
roll call vote, please.
Yes, Member Beachside,
Yes.
Member Bienvenue,
Yes,
Member Guida,
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you. And Melissa, you did a great job. Thank you so much.
Here.
Next, we have findings of fact and conclusions of law. We have 5 of them. Are there any changes to any of these? It appears that there are no changes. Will someone move to adopt?
This is Frank. I would move to adopt the findings and conclusions as submitted.
This is Anthony, I second.
Roll call vote, please.
Member Beachside,
Yes.
Member Bienvenu,
Yes.
Member
Yep.
Guido,
Yes,
Member Vice Chair Katz.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you very much. We move on to business from the floor, and I will remind applicants to please sign in under attendees. And also, if you are calling in, remember to hit *9. Do we have anyone? We have someone named Stephanie Beninato. Hello, Stephanie. How are you this evening?
I'm fine. I hope you can hear me. It just takes a couple of seconds to unmute. And I hope you all are well and stay safe. I appreciate your discussion of shoes, and I have to say that I like not wearing them, not only to feel the earth underneath my feet, but also to keep my house clean. And I would really appreciate it if you could give us a full a link or what do I want to say, reference to the series that you were talking about on the that's going to happen on August 27th. If you could give us that link or tell us where we go, where on your webpage or website it's available, that would be helpful. And I'm sorry to bring this up again, but I do think it's important. I do appreciate, and I think it's an admirable quality to be supportive of staff and loyal to staff. But really, if a staff member keeps repeating the same thing 4 times when a public participant is describing correctly behavior by the mayor and the staff member is repeating something that's not really accurate, and not really accurate. It wasn't accurate. What the public member was describing was accurate. So the constant repetition of saying the same thing really unnecessarily, and then you're wanting to support your staff, which I understand on a broad basis, but maybe in this example or this situation was not appropriate. Maybe you didn't look at the minutes and saw how many times that repetition went on in the business from the floor. So again, I think public participation is important. It's important to encourage it. That just means letting people say what they want to say and maybe just not responding, not being defensive, just letting them have their say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. John Eddy.
Hello, Madam Chair.
Well, good evening. Yes, sir. Do you have something to tell us? He has muted him. John? Okay, I guess he doesn't. I am going to go to communications.
Oh, sorry, I'm here now.
Okay, John.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, we're having difficulties here. I wanted to bring up something that I had brought to staff a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to see if there had been any updated information received by the city. The Plaza Monument had a plaque which was affixed at the base of the monument on the southern exposure outside the fence. It was a plaque, I believe, that might have been put up in the 70s or the 80s in response to the difficulties people were having in interpreting the verbiage on the monument and the fact that it is certainly inflammatory to some people. This plaque was an attempt by people to explain the fact that the language on the plaque itself was to be understood in the flavor of the times and the history. That plaque disappeared from its mount. It was a masonry mount at the foot of the monument outside the flagstone seating area. Some point before the state went in there to try to take the monument apart that night when everything got really crazy. Last I talked to staff, they didn't know anything about anybody being responsible for removing that plaque. Last I knew, the state didn't know anything about it. So it seems that that plaque was stolen. And I'd like to know if there's any updated information about that and if anybody is making any attempt at recovering or taking responsibility for having removed that plaque. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Lisa, do you have any information on that?
Madam Chair, I don't have any information. It's been very difficult to get any information about that particular issue. I don't even know what channels to go through. I believe it was stolen, or it could have been intentionally removed by the city, but I am not aware of it, and I don't want to speculate.
Okay, so you don't have any information on that. Okay.
I am sorry.
We will move on to communications, and Lisa, you have the floor in reference to communications.
Sure, and I just want to make an announcement. I serve on the board of the Friends of Architecture Santa Fe, and member Guida is actually the president of that board. We have been collaborating to put forth a series of webinar-based panel discussions focusing on long-range planning and various issues in Santa Fe, including sustainability, preservation, affordable housing, planning in general. And we are about to, so far we've hosted 2 events. The first was in May, the second one was in June. Our third will be called Revisioning Preservation. And that one will be held online on August 27th in the evening. And it's going to consist of a panel, a panel of 4 professionals with a moderator moderating the discussion. So the first half of the webinar will be presentations from our panel. The second half will be an interactive discussion with the audience and the panel. And we have a really great panel lineup. The panel will be moderated by historic architect Rachel Preston Prince. We will also have on the panel Sean Evans from AOS Architects, Esteban Real Galvez, who was one of the authors of Culture Connects and has been very active in our community around cultural preservation issues. We'll have Beverly Spears, who is an architect who's been involved in preservation for several decades now. And we will also have joining us Mark Mitchell, who is the Tribal Preservation Officer at Tesuque Pueblo. So it should be a really wonderful discussion. And I would love it if all of you could join. So I will, as Stephanie requested, I'll put a link on our website to the revisioning history page on the Friends of Architecture Santa Fe website. And it's architecturesantafe.org is the website. You can navigate there through our programs, and it's called Revisioning History. And then the various sessions are listed underneath there. And in fact, the first 2 sessions were recorded on video, and you can watch the first 2 sessions there if you'd like to. So I'll put a link on our website, the Historic Preservation Division page at the City of Santa Fe website. So
Lisa, for that information. And anything else?
Nothing from me, Madam
Nothing
Chair.
else at this time? Thank you.
Madam Chair, I actually had one quick update. The next appeal that was going to be heard by the governing body isn't going to be tomorrow night. It's going to be August 12th. We've got some really big city council agendas, and so they've pushed that 868 Alameda rock wall appeal to August 12th for right now.
Okay, thank you, Sally, very much. Next, we'll move on to action items. This evening, we have 4 items, and I do need to tell you that if you disagree with the decision that this board makes this evening, you do have the option to appeal. The appeals process, I think you can be guided by staff. And also it'll be 15 days after the findings and conclusions have been adopted. That's when the appeal period starts. So with that being said, we will go on to the first case this evening,
Madam
which
Chair,
is, yes,
and just a point of clarification, the appeal period starts when the findings are adopted and runs for 15 days.
okay.
That may have been what you said, but it hit my brain wrong, maybe.
Oh, I probably said it a little bit distorted.
Just for clarity.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first case this evening is 2020-00-2020-51. It's located at 512 Abeyta Street. This is a significant house, and this is Angela's case. And Angela, you have the floor. May we hear this case, please? And also for public comment, Sally, will you help me with the 2-minute?
Yes, Madam Chair, ready to go.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Angela, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, there you
Okay,
are. Okay,
thank you. Lisa, could I confirm that the applicant is on the call, Ryan Allen?
Is there anyone else from the audience who is an applicant on this case?
I do see a Lynn. Is it Lynn Allen?
Ryan Leighton Allen. That's probably
Yeah, I
him.
don't see them under attendees, but
Brian Allen is now a panelist, but I was just wondering if there was anyone else who needed to be moved over. Okay, I think you can proceed.
okay, go ahead.
Okay. This case comes to you. You may recognize it from last meeting. This is the 512 Abeyta, which is this northern New Mexico vernacular house built in the 1880s and designated historically significant. The house fronts Abeyta Street with a courtyard and a low rock wall. Its main entrance is on the north facade and a driveway sits to the north. Second house was constructed in 2008 behind and west of the historically significant house, which was case H-06-067. The main house has undergone minor alterations. The front, which is the north, and courtyard, east entry doors are not historic. Coyote fencing was added atop the low rock wall with a gap of shorter fence, there it is, near the courtyard gate. The applicant proposes interior and maintenance alterations to both the main and the rear house that were recently approved administratively by staff. This case comes to the board revised based on input from the board and staff at its July 14th, 2020 meeting. The applicant proposes to replace a non-historic entry door on the south facade, yes, that's it, with a territorial style door constructed of solid wood and glass. The applicant also proposes to replace the non-historic door in the entry courtyard on the east facade, also with a territorial style door. Pictures of the existing and proposed replacements are in the packet. There it is. The applicant proposes to repair and paint existing window and door trim to match existing. No change in window or door openings are proposed. Based on staff and board suggestion, the applicant has agreed to lower the existing 5 feet 9 inches tall coyote fencing along Abeyta Street, installed by a previous owner, to the maximum allowable height for this streetscape, 4 feet 6 inches. The effect will be to level out the coyote fencing that currently ranges in height along the front and side, which is the south facades. Included in the scheme is lowering the 5 feet 9 inches coyote fencing that wraps around the front, southeast, corner to the south side to the maximum allowable height of 4 feet 6 inches. The applicant proposes to replace the existing non-historic gate with the coyote fencing of the same height as the leveled out coyote fence. You can see that in exhibits C and D in your packets. Yeah. With respect to the south elevation coyote fencing, the applicant revised the proposal to add a 6 feet tall coyote fence that starts 36 feet from the front southeast corner of the significant house that extends west to the rear of the property, which is visible in this photograph on your screens. The applicant proposes to remove a section of coyote fencing that bisects an interior courtyard between the houses and construct a 6 feet coyote fence connecting the rear fencing across the southern property line. South to the rear non-contributing structure at the southwest corner. The applicant proposes to replace the existing non-historic courtyard gate in the coyote fence to the north of the house, east facing the street with a stained wood plank style door. The applicant also proposes to construct a freestanding open trellis at the rear, which is west of the property behind the non-contributing house. The trellis will be stained timbers with wooden viga columns and metal galvanized flashing. The trellis will be out of public view. No carport is proposed at this time. The proposal includes repair and patch of stucco Zellray's adobe color on the significant structure. A color sample is in your packet. Staff recommends approval of the application in compliance with section 14-5.2D, the general design standards for all historic districts. 14-5.2D9, yard wall height, pitch, scale, massing, and floor step backs. And section 14-5.2D5, windows and doors. And section 14-5.2E, downtown and Eastside historic district standards. And with that, I conclude my staff report.
Thank you, Angela, for your report. And board members, do you have any questions for Angela at this time? Member Beachside.
Yes, thank you. Just a couple of questions, Angela, please. Your report says that no changes are proposed in the window openings. But I see on the drawings, which I assume is an error, on the south and east facades, the proposed drawing omits a window in each case. Is that just an error in the drawing? Yeah, there. And then on the south, there's a set of windows. Okay. And just to correct that, should we require that the drawings be resubmitted if we're approving this application? Okay, thank you. And then I have a question about the stucco. Is it the same color that's on the house now that's proposed?
It is my understanding that it is to match the existing stucco.
Okay.
The applicant should be able to respond to that.
Sure, I can ask that too. And then in Exhibit H, I just want to understand, I believe the coyote fence that's currently between 512 and 512.5 is being removed and then pulled forward so that there'll be a long coyote fence in the same plane in front of the house. Is that correct?
Member Beachside, yes, that is correct.
And does that, in your opinion, affect that facade of the significant house in any way?
Member Beachside, that the fence will be moved south and be part of the continuous fencing along the south elevation. Staff believes that it will not, change the facade of the significant house and its relationship to the house behind, the non-contributing house behind it. And basing that on the fence's height that the applicant has agreed to lower in that area all the way, I mean, beyond 20 feet from the street, 36 feet into the property.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions at this time? There appear to be no other members wanting to have any questions at this time. Melissa, will you kindly swear in the applicant or applicants?
Yes, Mr. Allen, do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your full name and address for the record.
Ryan Layton Allen, 2395 Camino Pintorres, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87505.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Allen. First of all, I want to say thank you. I think that the drawings this evening reflect your proposal more accurately, except that on the window in the, I believe it's in the south elevation, that member.
Yeah, that's a mistake.
Okay, that member Beachside just pointed out, if, and that'll have to be resubmitted. They'll probably include it in the motion. And I also
Okay.
want to thank you for not including the carport as part of this application. Do
Sure.
you have anything further to add to the report?
No, I agree with the findings of the staff.
Okay, thank you. Let me see what board members have questions. Board members, do you have questions at this time? Member Beachside.
Thank you. Could I just ask the applicant to clarify the stucco color? Will it match the existing or is it different?
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's adobe. Some of it's peeling off. So it's been stuccoed quite a few times, some with cementitious, some with stone. So we want to try to get as close as we can to what's on it right now, which is the adobe that was submitted.
Thank you.
And Mr. Allen, you did indicate that cementitious.
The original was they've come over and done stow on top of it.
Oh, because this is a significant house, it should have cementitious stucco.
Yeah, it's peeling. So the color that we want to go with, if we fix it, and that's something we'll have to deal with stucco people, is we want to try to replicate that color that's on it, which is an adobe.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Any other board members have questions at this time? It appears not. Let me see if there's anyone from the public wishing to comment.
Chair, before we go to public comment, can I just clarify one quick thing as I was looking
Yes,
at?
please do, Lisa.
We noticed, Member Beach, I noticed that this window on the south elevation was omitted. I also want to clarify that the light pattern is not going to be changing on the north elevation.
Yeah, that's correct. None of those, there are no window changes. The only thing we'll be changing is those two doors that we added as exhibits.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me see if there's anyone from the public wishing to comment. It appears not. Oh, yes. John Eddy. John Eddy, you have the floor.
Yes, can you hear me, Madam Chair?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I had a question on the north elevation.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, Mr. Eddie, but.
Oh, I'm sorry. You
Melissa,
do
please
need to
swear
get
you in.
sworn in. Apologies.
Oh,
Thank you,
yes.
Sally.
Thank you. Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear, and I am raising my right hand. You cannot see.
Great. Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is John Eddy, 227 East Palace Avenue, Suite D, Santa Fe, 87501.
Yes, Mr. Eddy, what do you have to tell us?
I wanted to get a clarification on the north elevation, the addition of a door, a new door replacement. It was expressed that this was a territorial style door, and fleetingly an image went by of a territorial door, which I think was provided as a sample, that it's a painted white territorial penimented door. And I'm just trying to get clarification that there will be no pedimentation on the door jamb and that the door jamb will be consistent with Pueblo Revival style. I also kind of question, well, clarification would come first, whether those arched windows will be placed in this door as well. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I will ask the applicant before we go to the other person. I will ask Mr. Allen to respond to the
Yes,
question.
there would be no pedimentation on the door. The client would like arch doors. That's a door that they submitted that they liked, but not necessarily, they don't have to necessarily be arched. I spoke with the client.
Okay, thank you. Stephanie Beninato, will you kindly swear her in, Melissa?
Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Stephanie Beninato, PO Box 1601, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Thank you.
I appreciate that the applicant has made the changes to the fencing height and has removed that fencing sort of more to the middle of the property and brought it back to the property line. One of the things about the fencing that I did notice, and it makes me feel like none of it was approved by the board, is that all of it is actually straight across, same height, no variation. So I would ask that there be at least some variation on the height of the coyote fencing. And the other thing I just wanted to note is that in it was 1999 when the city of Santa Fe put that marker on the plaza, which basically says, excuse our language, it's historical, when making reference to the word rebel at the obelisk. Thanks.
Thank you. So board members, do you have anything further in reference to this particular case? If not, I will entertain a motion. Please make it specific. Member Beachside.
Actually, before making a motion, can I just ask for some opinions or clarification on the arched glass panels of the door that Mr. Eddy raised? Would that not be in keeping with Pueblo Revival style?
I'll give my opinion quickly.
This is not a Pueblo Revival structure. This is a territorial structure. It was built in the 1880s prior to the invention of Pueblo Revival. Just want to be clear about how we're using our terms.
Okay, does it have brick coping?
It does not have brick coping, Madam Chair.
And so what in your estimation makes this, what did you say, Pueblo Revival, or is this territorial?
It was constructed during the territorial period. I believe the way that Angela has described the architectural style as Northern New Mexico vernacular or some variant of that is probably the most accurate, but it was built during the territorial period.
Yeah, I would say probably vernacular style. That's what I would say. But board members, do you have any opinion in reference to the arches on the windows of the door? I don't see any raised hands. Member Guida.
For the reasons that Lisa just mentioned, I don't have a strong opinion one way or another. This is period appropriate.
Thank you. No one else has anything else? Member Beachside?
Thank you. I just wasn't clear what the meaning of that question was exactly. I'll go ahead and make a motion, if that's all right.
Please.
In case 2020-2251-HDRB at 512 Abeyta, I move to approve the application with the following conditions: that the drawing errors in relation to the windows, including light patterns that are not proposed to be changed, be corrected and resubmitted before a permit is sought. And that the coyote fencing in all locations be constructed with latias of irregular heights, and that the support structures, the horizontal support structures, be on the interior of the property.
Thank you. Were you gonna, is there a second? Member Guida?
I would second the motion and request that request a friendly amendment that the applicant use cementitious stucco and resubmit the color selection to staff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For
That's
Guida.
friendly.
And were you not going to address the pedimented door, the pedimented surrounding the door?
Yes, I'll add to the motion that the doors surround the door jamb on both doors remain as is and not include a pediment.
Thank you. Melissa, would you take a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Member Beachside,
Yes.
Member Bienvenu,
Yes.
Member Guida,
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you very much. Next case is located at 141 Camino Escondido. It's 2020-002255.
We get one better, and when I submit the permit, I'll just show that one drawing.
Pardon, who is speaking? Oh, anyway, okay, this is Angela's case, and Angela, may we hear your report?
Thank you, Chair. Yes.
Angela, may I ask who the applicant is that needs to be moved over for this case, please?
Angela, can you let us know who the applicant is?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Chair Rios, members of the board, the applicant for the case is John Murphy.
Okay, and we know that John was already here. Okay.
Does
Okay,
anyone
go ahead
need to be
and give us
moved
your
to the
report.
panel? Does anyone else need to be moved to the panel, or is that sufficient for this case? Okay, we'll just proceed.
I think that's it, Lisa. Thank you.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Okay. This case is a status designation case, as this house in front of you did not have one. And that is the topic of the 141 Camino Escondido tonight, which is before you. It was constructed in 1938 or 39 by a local builder, the former Ralph A. and Adela O. Rodriguez house, in an approximately 1,800 square foot single family residence designed in the Spanish Pueblo revival style. The nearly 1 acre property includes a garage that was converted into a guest house, the casita, and a two-sided structure, a barbecue shelter in the back. The house has undergone few alteration and is deemed representative of a builder's interpretation of the Spanish Pueblo revival style. It is square in plan and sits over a finished basement. Indicative of its period, it is constructed of structural hollow clay pentile and finished with earth brown cement stucco. The entry portal on the front of the house is constructed the west side of round wood vigas with a single post that has a zapata corbel block and painted white walls. A driveway runs along the north side of the house. The house's windows are mostly paired, separated by wide wood mullions. The openings are topped with recessed boards meant to look like lentils of an older vintage. The windows are white vinyl replacements affixed in the interior of the grids to give the appearance of a 6/6 division. The house's north elevation has a jutting bay window constructed sometime after 1973. According to aerial imagery, family memories, and its construction details. The house's east side, facing the backyard, has an alcove with French doors and side lights. There's a 3-panel 4-light wood door entry to the laundry room. The master bedroom juts into the yard and is fenestrated with paired single-hung windows of the same material found elsewhere. The house's south elevation has a series of windows. With respect to streetscape and yard wall, Their property is approximately 1/2 block north of Canyon Road on a wide suburban type street. Like many homes on the street, it sits deep on its lot, about 66 feet from the curb. A low cement stucco faced wall defines its street frontage. The front street wall, measuring 2 feet 6 inches above inside grade, is original and similar to other walls on Camino Escondido. The casita. To the east and rear of the main house is a casita that was once a one-car garage. The front of the building was added after 1973 to serve as guest quarters. The street-facing elevation is a nearly solid wall with 2 windows. With respect to the barbecue shelter to the east and rear of the main house, it was built in the 1950s, and it is 2-sided, flat roofed, constructed of unstuccoed concrete masonry unit walls. The roof, is a deck over wood joist supported by CMU walls to the south and west and a wood beam resting on CMU piers at the north and east. The shelter has a poured-in-place concrete floor. At the back wall is the barbecue unit, made of a firebox of split-faced masonry blocks with a white brick chimney. The Historic Properties Survey states that the barbecue structure was likely influenced by the promotion of outdoor living in the 1950s and 60s by Sunset Magazine and similar publications. The survey also notes that the barbecue shelter at 141 Camino Escondido lacks many of the refinements and characteristic features of barbecue shelters of the period. Built during the rise of suburban residential construction after the Great Depression, the house was the 4th on the Eastside Santa Fe suburban tract and patterned in a suburban layout deep set on the lot in a Pueblo revival form. The house is older than 50 years and little has changed to its principal facade, which is the west facade, which communicates the original design intent and period. The casita is of an older period, but altered significantly. While the barbecue structure is at least 50 years or older, the structure is not harmonious with the house's style or period, and according to the recent historic survey, does not reflect the Preservation Ordinance's design objectives. The front yard wall is well crafted and contributes to the house's context and setting and is an important part of the streetscape. Can we go back to the very first slide, please? That one. Thank you. As stated in the historical survey, over 50 years of age, it was likely built in response to the subdivision's covenants and provides a strong sense of place. And I must give a nod to the architectural historian who prepared this historical survey for the context of this house. And with that, staff recommends designating the house and front street yard wall as contributing to the downtown and Eastside Historic District. Staff recommends that the north and west facades be designated primary per section 14-2 definition of primary facade. Due to substantial alterations that have diminished the structure's historic integrity, the casita is recommended as non-contributing, along with the barbecue shelter per section 14-12 definition of contributing structure. And with that, I conclude my report.
Thank you, Angela. Board members, do you have any questions for Angela at this time? Member Katz.
It's not so much a question, but I would like to add my voice in thanking John Murphy for the excellent job that he did. It's always such a pleasure to read his reports. Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you. I also I'll echo Member Katz's compliment to you, John. It's always very interesting. And I have to tell you guys that my barber, yes, I had a barber when we were little. There was a barber at the mouth of Canyon Road and Camino Escondido. And that was Orlando Vigil. And actually, he just died recently. It is now, of course, a gallery, but that used to be a little barber shop. Anyway, all righty. Well, will you please swear in John Murphy, Melissa?
Do you, Mr. Murphy, do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Mr. Murphy, we can see your lips moving, but you are muted.
John, would you unmute?
I am not, okay, hold on.
Okay, there you go. Let me swear you in again, please. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
John Murphy, 2833 Plaza Verde, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87507.
Thank you.
John, it's nice to see you. What do you
Good to
have
see
to
you.
tell us about this house?
Madam Chair and members, Madam Chair and members of the board, I really don't have to add much more. Angela did a very fine job in presenting its history and the character defining features of each of those resources on the property. I was happy to do this particular survey because I had surveyed the house to the north and south over the years, and I always looked at this one with interest. I would like to make a friendly petition to the board if the north facade recommendation, that is for primary facade, could be slightly tweaked to remove the elevation that includes the 3-pitch bay window, in that I don't think that is a historically, I don't think it retains historic integrity because of that addition.
But John, so this house is approximately 81 to 82 years old, and you feel that that bay window is not part of the original house?
Yes.
Or you just feel that it does not contribute to the history of the house or the style of the house, the architectural style?
Sure, I can say affirm both. Based on aerial photographs, it does not appear in 1973. And I had the pleasure of speaking to the granddaughter of the original owner, who was speaking to the daughter. They lived together a couple Saturdays ago. And another granddaughter who was an architect in Colorado, and none of them remember that particular feature. And so it's not just a gut feeling. I know for fact, based on family memory and aerial photographs, that it was not there during the period of significance.
Okay, thank you. And aside from that, do you agree with Angela's recommendations?
Yes, wholeheartedly.
Okay, thank you, John. Let me see if the board members have any questions for you. Any questions for John, board members? Or comments? Member Beachside.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy, I just have a question in relation to that facade that you were just discussing. There's a small buttress at the corner of that facade where the bay window is, and I wonder if you feel like those, I don't know that that's repeated on the other facades that are recommended as primary. Is that a character defining feature you think should be preserved, or what are your feelings about that?
Yeah, Member Bishai, that's a very good question. Those buttresses or sculpture points are found on, I think, 3 points, and then also on the guest house. So I don't know how you would look at dividing the pie, but I think it is probably worthwhile to preserve one of those on the front facade because they are character defining and they're kind of a lingering effect of the earlier Pueblo Revival movement, which had much more sculptural features.
Thank you, Member Beachside, for your question and for your answer, John. Any other questions? If not, I will open it to the public. Stephanie Benato, you've been sworn in. What question do you have? Yes, Stephanie.
Hi, thank you. Stephanie Benato. I am in agreement with the recommendation of staff and with Mr. Murphy's tweaking, because really the bay window there is not characteristic of historic Santa Fe style. And I do agree that that buttress there needs to be, if it's not considered part of the north facade over here, that somehow if you could extend, I don't know how to describe it, but I think that does need also to be included to preserve that feature. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Eddy. John Eddy, you have the floor. John, we cannot hear you. Oh, let's see. Now you're muted.
Now I should be able to be heard, yes?
Yes, we can hear you now. And
Thank
you
you.
have been sworn in. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. Not to pile on here, but I also agree entirely with staff's recommendation here about the elevations as chosen to be contributing. Also the exclusion of the bay window and maintaining the buttresses as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Board members, it's back to you. I will entertain a motion, please. Member Katz.
Yes, in this case, case number 2020-2555 at 141 Camino Escondido, I would move to accept the recommendation of staff and identify and designate the house and the front wall as contributing and identify as primary facade the west facade and the north facade with the exclusion of the non-historic bay window.
Did you want to address the buttress?
I would assume that that's part of the north facade and it's not part of the bay window. So I am assuming that that is included in the motion, but I will make clear that it includes the buttress if that will help.
Thank you for the motion. Is there a second? Member Beachside.
I'll second with the friendly amendment to also designate the casita and the barbecue shelter as non-contributing.
Thank you.
That's recommendation.
Thank you for pointing that out. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Member Beachside?
Yes.
Member Bienvenu?
Yes.
Member Guida?
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz? The motion has been approved.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next case, which is at 1301 Canyon Road. This is case 2020-002306. And this is Daniel's case. This is non-contributing. Daniel, may we hear your report, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we certainly
Okay.
can.
1301 Sea Canyon Road is a single-family residence built in 2007, listed as non-contributing to the downtown and Eastside Historic District. The structure is built on a lot that slopes down to the north and the Santa Fe River. It has no public visibility. It is a single-story structure built in a contemporary Spanish Pueblo Revival style with a flat roof and massive walls in an El Rey buckskin stucco color, a portal with red metal shed roof on the south side, and a portal with round wood posts and parapets and canales on the north side. That's the south side. And that's the north elevation. The current entry on the south facade is below the existing grade at the bottom of 5 steps. The windows are simulated divided lights with dark brown frames. The maximum allowable height is 14 foot 1 inch, and the existing height from the lowest grade to the top of the highest parapet is currently 14 feet. Applicant proposes the following changes. Item 1, additions are proposed at the west and north of the existing house. 2 new portals with parapets, round wood posts, and corbels will be constructed on the northwest and northeast corners. The additions will be built on the lower part of the sloping site so that the difference in the natural grade along the structure's foundation will be almost 4 feet. The proposed additions do not exceed the height of the existing structure. The height from the lowest grade to the top of the highest parapet will be 17 feet 6 inches, which exceeds the maximum allowable height by 3 feet 5 inches. The applicant requests from the board an allowance for this extra height per section 14-5.2 D9C2F. Item 2, construction of a garage workshop addition on the west side. This includes a single garage door of metal painted matte dark brown. Item 3, construction of an addition on the southeast corner, which will include a second garage and a closet and entry. Item 4, creation of a new entry door on the south facade at the level of the existing grade. Item 5, windows will be simulated divided lights of aluminum clad colored dark bronze to match the existing. Wood will be stained dark brown to match the existing. Railings along the portal on the north elevation will be painted Mexicali turquoise. Retaining walls adjacent to the stairs descending below the existing grade will be of 18 inches in height on the northwest corner and on the south facade, and will be covered with river rock. Staff recommendation: staff recommends approval of the proposed project and finds that the application complies with section 14-5.2 D and E. I stand for questions.
Thank you. Board members, any questions for Daniel at this time? It appears none at this time. So can we swear in the applicant or applicants?
Yes. Who am I swearing in?
Richard Martinez.
Richard Martinez, thank you. Mr. Martinez, do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your full name and address for the record.
Richard Martinez, Martinez Architecture Studio, 1524 Paseo de Peralta, Santa Fe.
Thank you.
Hi, Richard. Good evening. Richard, what is the existing square footage of the home and what is the proposed square footage? And then give us a total.
Yes, it's on the first page of my middle, but the existing is roofed is 2,220 square feet. And the proposed in total is 4,507 square feet. We're almost doubling the size of the house.
So you're at about 8,700 square feet. Is that correct? No?
No. The 4,000 at the end includes the existing.
Oh, okay.
That's a total. Yeah, so it's going from 2,000 some to 4,000 some.
Okay, thank you. Member Katz.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Richard.
Hello.
I have two questions, both on the south facade. I'm looking on your page A3.1, page 16 in our material.
Yes.
And there are two things. I realize that most of the house is not visible. I don't know for sure that the garage is not visible from Canyon Road because you can kind of look down there. But the garage door seems kind of out of place. And I was wondering if that could be changed.
Yeah, yes. Can I respond to that?
Yes,
please.
I have some submittals from the owner that I want to share, and it's on my screen. So Lisa, can I share my screen now?
Yes, just a moment. Okay, you should be able to now, Richard.
Okay, so we would like to put these type of doors rather than what I have on the submittal. So these are wood looking doors. They're not actually wood doors. They're painted this color. They're fiberglass, and they have windows on the top. And that would be the same door for both of the garages.
Thank you. That looks a lot better.
I have some other things that the owner would like for me to present to you. Is that okay?
Yes, please do.
Okay. So the front door, I have a solid front door with side light, but they would rather do this, and I'm gonna let's see here. Yes. Okay. So can you see my my
Yes.
hand? Yes. So this would be the front door, which is a glass door with side lights on each side. So it wouldn't be the solid door that's that I have in my drawings. And the window in the kitchen, one of the windows on the facade would be a double size window rather than a single size window, which also shows in that south elevation. And both of these, I'm going to pull up something else. I have to find it, sorry. Oh, here it is. Okay, both of the doors and windows, rather than being in the dark bronze, would be clad in a blue, and this blue would also be the color of the railings on the north facade. The railings on the north facade will be between wood stained posts, but it would be in a sort of a lightning pattern, so that it would be a really feature of that portal. So I'm proposing also that this would be the color of the windows and doors, and this would be the color of the railings as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. The other comment I had, which you are very welcome to entirely ignore, is that on the right side, on the east side of the south facade, you have that long blank wall. And the solar architect in me wonders that it would look so much better with windows into that garage, and it could bring some sun and warmth into that garage, and might be a win-win in both of those senses. But I'd leave that up to you, whether that's a change you and the owner would want to make.
That is a good idea. Unfortunately, that wall is directly in front of the neighbor's house. And so even though the part where we're new entryway at grade and taking the steps down to the house inside the entryway, that's all visible as you come down the driveway. But the long unfenestrated wall is facing the neighbor's house. And so we will consider that, but that's what would be best for both parties.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further.
Member Guida.
Thank you. Richard.
Yes.
This is a dramatic improvement to this existing house. And just a couple points of clarification. The new color that you suggested, this would apply to all windows and doors, right? Because you're replacing all of them.
Yes, it would apply to all windows and doors. Yes.
Okay. And I understand your proposal for the front door. It makes sense. It's certainly acceptable to me. I like your original proposal better, but both are fine.
It was my idea originally, but this is what the owner would like to do. Yes.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
And I believe the owner, Lynn Allen, is also on this call.
Okay, and does he wish to comment?
She.
Or she? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first name.
Lynn Allen.
Oh, Lynn? Oh, okay. Oh, okay, I see. Miss Allen, if you'll get sworn in, please.
Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your full name and address for the record.
Lynn Elizabeth Allen, 1301 Unit C, Canyon Road, Santa Fe, 87501.
Thank you.
Yes, good evening, Miss Allen. What do you have to tell us this evening?
We moved here a year ago. Santa Fe was a favorite place of mine for many, many years. I almost moved here 25 years ago, and it was a dream for me and my husband to retire here. And so moving here and finding this place in particular, I had been on the real estate sites for 2 years while I was still working and traveling. And one morning I woke up and I saw this place, and my husband and I immediately put in a bid. And that was because we knew we wanted to be in the canyon. And this was exactly the kind of spot that I had dreamed of living in.
Thank you for your comments. This is my favorite place in the world, Santa Fe. Let me see. I don't think board members have any questions for you, but I'm going to see if if anybody in the public has something to say. And that would be Stephanie Beninato.
I'll be right there.
Stephanie?
Yeah. Here I am. Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
Stephanie.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I think for me, of course, it's a huge increase in the size of the house, and I'm assuming that it meets all those kinds of requirements. Although I'm always amazed at the examples of inequality, social economic inequality that we have here that become really evident in the board or at these meetings. That being said, I am particularly wondering on the side that faces away from Canyon Road. I'm assuming, and I might be wrong, but I thought this went down to the river. And if it does, I'm wondering how visible that side of the house is. And then I'm very happy that the metal garage doors, I assume both of those are going away. And I would echo Mr. Katz's comment about that long wall, and thought that perhaps glass block might be an alternative where you get light in there. It breaks up the massing a little bit, and yet you're not going to be looking at your neighbor. They're not going to be looking at you. I've done really kind of interesting designs, kind of New Mexico type designs with glass blocks that can kind of be fun. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Board members, if you have no further comments, I will entertain a motion.
I could speak somewhat ambiguously to the question of the visibility from the river.
Yes.
It does slope down to the Santa Fe River. It is a river property. And I believe that there is a path that goes along there. I did not test the public visibility or the visibility from the river, but I think there's a good chance that there is visibility from there.
And that's which facade are we talking about?
It's on the south side of the river.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, board members, you heard the changes that Mr. Martinez suggested this evening, whoever makes the motion. please indicate those changes if that is going to be part of your motion. And I will call for a motion at this time. Member Guida.
Okay, so in case 2020-002-306 HDRB 1301C Canyon Road, Santa Fe, I move that we proceed with staff's recommendations to approve the project, including the height exception, as well as the changes brought forth by Mr. Martinez tonight, the revised window color, window and door color, the revised front entry door with 2 side lights, and the proposed garage doors as he presented tonight.
Okay, and he also
I
indicated,
just make an interjection. It's not formally speaking an exception. I think maybe Lisa or Sally can correct me. It's an allowance.
An allowance.
yeah,
It's an allowance for sleeping
Sorry.
site.
yeah, that is correct. That
Thank
there
you.
were no exceptions
Thank
in
you.
this case. And also, he also indicated, Mr. Martinez also indicated that the railings on the north facade would be the same color as the window and the doors.
Yes, painted to match, yes.
Is there a second to this motion?
This is Frank. I would second it and welcome the new owners to the neighborhood.
Thank you. And also, Richard, also that, would you accept this, Member Guida, that the drawings reflect the new changes? That the
Yes,
architects-
accepted as friendly.
Okay, thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Member Beachside,
Yes.
Member Bienvenue,
Yes.
Member Guida,
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
last case this evening is located at 640 Garcia Street. This is Lisa's case, and it's 2020-002326. It's a contributing building. And Lisa, can we hear your report, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board. Just a moment. Let me turn my page. 640 Garcia Street, formerly addressed as 636 Garcia Street, consists of a single-family residence and small rear casita listed as contributing to the downtown and Eastside Historic District. The house has been referred to in the HCPI as the Benito Chavez House after its original occupant. The original portion of the main residence was constructed prior to 1912, and a large historic addition was constructed at the south elevation, west side of the south elevation prior to 1956. Another small addition was built at the south elevation on the east side in 1994, and the residence was extensively remodeled in 1995 with the construction of a large addition in south. And I'll show a diagram that shows the progression of construction of the home from the HCPI. The final addition to the south non-historic addition was completed in 2019 as well, which is not reflected here. Earlier this year, the applicant received administrative approval for maintenance and repair and landscaping improvements. The primary facades of the main residence include the east street-facing facade, which is set back from the street behind a yard wall and large apricot tree, and the north facade at the driveway. The east primary facade is characterized by territorial detailing, including brick coping atop a high symmetrical stuccoed masonry facade, with a central doorway and one large original opening on either side. Now the applicant proposes to construct a freestanding ramada-like structure in front of the east primary facade in order to provide shade to the north patio, to the east patio, which is defined by an existing low stuccoed masonry wall. The proposed design features a rectangular steel post and beam structure which supports a 4-foot wide steel tube panels with red willow reed fill. The panels are designed to sit on a bias at an angle that echoes the angle of the brick coping on the east facade. The applicant describes in detail the design inspiration for this structure, which draws inspiration from local, more traditional Ramada structures. And staff recommends approval of the proposed project and finds that the application complies with section 14-5.2 D and E. And I'll stand for questions, Madam Chair.
Yeah, Lisa, so this structure does not touch the north facade, correct?
That's correct, Madam Chair. It
And the
is.
north facade is one of the primary facades on this contributing house, correct?
It's actually the east facade, which is the street facing front of the structure. And no, it does not touch the structure at all.
Okay. And what is the height of the house and what is the height of the proposed pergola?
Madam Chair, the existing structure is 11 feet 8 inches in height. The proposed Ramada structure, I will have to open the drawings as these are not good enough to read, but I can tell you that it is certainly.
I can always ask the applicant as well.
Yeah, we can do that as well.
Okay, and your feeling is that this proposed Ramada does not negatively affect the that primary structure, that primary elevation?
Madam Chair, the proposed structure is 9 feet in height. And Madam Chair, I do not think that it adversely impacts this structure. It doesn't make any permanent change to the structure. And when I originally spoke to the applicant about the design, it was intended to be a removable structure that could be up for a portion of the year and be removed for a portion of the year as desired by the homeowner. I think we should circle back with the applicant on that question. I'm not sure whether that is still the intention or not, but I think it's an innovative design that doesn't detract from the character of the original structure.
Thank you. Member Katz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lisa, is this a house that got permission to do quite a lot of changes in the back? And what happened with that?
Madam Chair, Member Katz, yes, there were the board approved the board approved several substantial additions in the 90s. There was a pre-1956 addition on that west side as well. I may have gotten my cardinal directions mixed up in the report. But as you can see here on this west side, there are multiple additions in the back that are not visible from the street. And it's even hard to tell how extensive those additions are as you drive up the driveway to this front entry area. It's not until you get around to the back that you actually see the extensive additions on the back.
Perhaps I wasn't clear. Did we not approve further additions that have not been done?
I believe there was, yes. So if you look at the difference in the floor plan, and the applicant can probably speak more directly to this, there was an addition that was approved in 2019 back in this farthest southwest corner. So you can see the difference there in the footprint.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Member Benvenu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lisa, I'm just trying to narrow down for my own benefit in reviewing this application exactly what subsections of the code are applicable to this project. So I'm trying to figure out, do you consider this, I assume you don't consider it an addition? Is that true?
Madam Chair, Member Bienvenue, no, this is not an addition to the home. It does not connect to the, to the home at all. So it is not considered an addition. It's considered a freestanding structure.
So if they, I don't know, it looks like it's very, very close to the wall. If it did connect to the wall, then it would become an addition, but because they stopped just short of the wall, we would say it's not an addition. Is that the idea?
That's correct, Member Bienvenue. We've seen all of these types of applications in different designs, more traditional designs, pretty recently.
Okay, and then so if it's a structure, does it need to be in either old Santa Fe style, or what do we call it? New Santa Fe style or old Santa Fe style?
Recent Santa Fe style.
Recent.
That's how the code describes it. And yes, it does need to meet generally the design standards for the district as described in 14-5.2E.
So either old Santa Fe style or recent Santa Fe style?
Correct. Because it, however, member Bienvenu, because it's not a walled structure, it is a ramada, and our code doesn't adequately address the design of ramadas.
Right.
It is much more open to interpretation.
Oh, I definitely see that. That's why I'm asking these questions, because it does seem like, okay, so we narrow it down that it needs to be in either recent Santa Fe style or old Santa Fe style, but yet we don't have any specific design standards for a freestanding ramada, as you just said, right?
Member Bienvenu, I would agree that there's a deficiency in our code.
Okay. All right. So we'll just have to figure out what we think the intent of the code is with respect to this freestanding ramada. Thank you.
Member Bienvenu, I would say if it helps at all, that there are numerous examples, both historically and more predominantly non-historically, of these ramada type structures. This is more of an innovative design than the traditional designs that we often see, which are either which are usually formed of square posts and square beams, or they're made of round posts with latillas on top. This is a different take on that, and I personally think it's in the interest of this board and in the interest of our community to entertain variations on a theme.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Member Katz?
Oh, did I leave my hand up? I'm sorry.
Yes. Okay. And Member Guida, did you have something?
Frank asked my question for me.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions at this time? I'll come back to you, members. I'll open it for public comment. Stephanie Benato.
Do we want to first hear from the applicant?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. You should.
Oh, I'm very sorry. I'm jumping the gun. Thank you, Member Katz. Will the applicant or applicants please get sworn in?
I'm not sure who I'm swearing in.
Luca Marino Baker.
Thank you. Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your full name and address for the record.
It's Luca Marino Baker. Address is 38A County Road 84, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87506.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And would you repeat your last name? I didn't get it.
It's Marino-Baker.
Oh, okay, sir. What do you have to add? What do you have to tell us about this ramada?
Well, board members were aware that we are, what we brought to you today is a little bit different and is a more contemporary twist on a ramada structure. This particular facade does get pretty sun-blasted throughout the day. Even today, about mid-afternoon, even though it's on the east side of the house, it's hot. It's hot. There's no shade, and this is where their primary view and yard is, on the east side of this property. I also want to point out that this is also set back from the street. That yard wall, the existing yard wall in front of the structure, is about 60 feet, if not more, from the street facade. And there is a very large apricot tree that for more than half of the year sits right in front of it. So it's tucked back and not visible for the majority of the year. So the reason why the clients decided to go this way is during the process of the remodels, originally they were proposed with a very traditional, heavy, attached timber structure that is essentially Pueblo style. And what we didn't want to do is attach to this specific facade of the house that is the oldest part of the house. We're not sure if there's a bond beam. We didn't want to compromise the structural integrity of the home. And we also like the kind of ephemeral nature of this Ramada structure. It essentially would give filtered light. There's not going to be a real tight weave in these red willow reeds here. That would give light and shadow play as the sun progressed over the day. We were inspired by the image on the right, which is a Spanish contemporary structure that's been added onto a historic earthen structure. But as opposed to the galvanized steel and the bamboo fabric covering, we wanted to work with materials that are already in use here in Santa Fe, either raw or corten steel, a gray or rusty color, in addition to the red willow reeds that are traditionally used in both furnishings and architecturally here in New Mexico. Another aspect of this house I'd like to bring up is, though it's territorial, it doesn't have territorial detailing around the windows. There are rosettes. Historic rosettes that are depicted in the rendering and the drawings that are unique to this home. So it already lives in kind of this hybrid time frame that it's borrowing from Pueblo, it's borrowing from territorial. But I'd like to circle back to the massing of this structure. As opposed to heavy shade, and especially in the winter when it's going to be colder, there isn't as much necessity for shade. We very much like the idea of a light, airy structure that essentially from there you can enjoy the garden and be sheltered somewhat from the, from precipitation and whatnot. And again, we're feeling if it's freestanding, in looking at precedents throughout town, more contemporary twists on Ramada structures, I'd be happy to share some examples, but we have found a precedent that's not necessarily identical to this in terms of materiality or form, but steel is used throughout town. One of the examples I can share with you is right in front of the Starbucks on Guadalupe. That's a very heavy steel Ramada structure. In addition to freestanding structures on Palace Avenue, we were also inspired in looking historically how freestanding Ramadas are constructed in New Mexico. Traditionally, we were looking at Taos Pueblo and other Native American structures throughout the Southwest that utilize coyotes, essentially latia structures that would filter light, so you'd have partial shade. And this is essentially a contemporary twist on what we've seen, well, in historic architecture here in New Mexico that we feel both speaks to the materiality of this house. It's going to highlight the brick coping. And as you can see, it is kind of a stark facade. We feel that this will break up the massing of it, both from the street facade that you can't really see for most of the year, and will give the clients a lovely place to enjoy with partial shade that's not affecting the structure of their home.
Thank you. Sir, is the structure going to stay up year round?
When we looked into what was required for temporary structures, that's getting a permit every time. The way we envisioned this attaching is essentially small foundations that would be laid under the existing brick patio, and these would essentially either the vertical posts would either screw in or be welded in. The idea of disassembling it after getting into the weeds of detailing it became problematic.
Okay, so it's going to stay up all year. Okay.
Prefer it to.
And also, would you indicate to us the color of the steel posts?
Sure. Should I, Lisa, can I take over the screen here?
Sorry about that. I was muted. You should, let's make sure. Yes, you may share your screen, Luca.
Thank you. So there's several different options here. The rosettes are kind of a bronze color, and I believe they are bronze. We felt that this either hot or cold rolled tube steel frame would help. Well, let me just zoom into this. That it would match the rosettes. It would pull out the color of the rosettes with the red matching the brick. We're not opposed to Corten steel, which is shown below here. It's used throughout the historic district in town. So we're really happy with either of these materials, but I think we tend towards the raw steel.
Okay, thank you. Member Katz.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you have no questions?
No, I have no question.
Okay, let me see if anybody else has a question for you, Sue. It appears no one has a question, so I will now go to public comment. And we have Stephanie Beninato.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I have to say that I'm very concerned about these use of the term Ramada in a sort of loose way. And it seems to me that it becomes a way of getting around having a portal and what that would actually mean. And often they're much larger than you would probably allow a portal. And if it's a half a foot or a foot back, in my opinion, that's a primary facade. It should be set back significantly more than a couple of inches or a foot even. And I just wonder if there's a way, I mean, I was hoping they could move it to a non-historic part of the house, but I see that's not possible. And I do agree they've already gotten a lot of add-ons to this house. And ramadas really were used for drying structures in pueblos and also in northern Mexico among Rancheria people such as the Yaquis. And they were not anywhere close to structures generally, because even if they sort of substituted as a shade structure, again, they're not right up by the structure itself. And I do think, even though it's set back considerably, that it will significantly change the look of that facade. And I wonder why such things as natural solutions, such as vegetation, couldn't be used there instead to shade the patio. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Eddy.
I think I'm still muted. I'm sorry.
No,
Probably
you are
can't
not.
hear me.
We can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay, thank you. I appreciate the comments made by Ms. Beninato. I agree. I have a problem with the use of steel, whether it is attached to a primary facade or not. I think that this design, is very clever, but it does not match the feel of this house because of, I think, primarily the disjointed angular approach going on, as well as the lack of massing in the uprights. Anything that is going to go with this house needs to have more massing in the uprights. I would prefer, not that I'm suggesting it, but an attached portal, traditional portal with 6x6 or 8x8 posts would be more appropriate going onto this house. So I would urge you to ask the applicant to come back with a more appropriate design. And I disagree with the the assertion that there's steel visible all over the traditional east side. And I don't necessarily think that that's really where we need to be going with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any further comments or questions? Member Katz?
Yes, I think I really like the design. I think it's beautiful and lovely. It just is not really fitting in the east side of Santa Fe. And all of this urge of, yes, we have to be contemporary.
Oh, we're losing you, Frank.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Now we can. Would you repeat what you just finished saying?
All of this discussion of, this is a contemporary take on it. Well, contemporary is not Santa Fe style. And I just don't think it fits in. And I think something that John Eddy said years ago sticks with me, that really the essence of Santa Fe style is handmade. And it doesn't mean metal can't be used, but metal manufactured in a factory versus a wrought iron is a very different thing. And so it disturbs me because I like it, but I don't think it fits. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Guida?
Thank you. So I agree that this is a challenging proposal. I think I know that the board has approved previously similar steel Ramada type structures in front of primary facades before in the same fashion. That we've done so while I've been on the board. Those have maybe perhaps been a little bit more traditional in their detailing and massing, if not in their material. But we have approved them before in this district in this kind of same application, set just a little bit in front of the facade and not touching it, and we've allowed that before. I think that there's something so much more honest and direct about this proposal than what we were looking at last time on Abeyta with a carport that was mimicking Santa Fe style. To me, that's the real perverse proposal, to say, okay, I'm going to take a 20th century form and do it out of Santa Fe style, and somehow that's okay. I think this opposite approach, perhaps a traditional form realized in a way that is detached from a primary facade, is done so in a very kind of light and minimalist way, I think is a much more valid approach to producing shade on this facade. So I really applaud the approach. I think the only criticism that I would have of this is that my preference would be for the structure to not have two different sawtooth patterns in plan. Probably the smaller scale of the sawtooth that's against the facade or close to the facade is stronger. It's certainly going to be stronger in terms of the shadow pattern that Luca identified. But I would say the same is true on the street side, and that too would be in the interest of this appearing a little bit more regular and minimal, which I think is, we can see in the elevations, is the intent of the design, for this to be light, airy, and minimal. So I applaud the approach, and just have some small comments about the actual design.
Anyone else on the board wishing to comment? Member Beachside.
Thank you. Yeah, I applaud the creativity and innovation here. I do agree that this is a preferable direction. For this particular house, I'm a little concerned, even by what the applicant stated in terms of breaking up the massing of this stark facade. with this structure. I think the simple, stark facade makes it really special. And it is visible from Garcia Street, even with the apricot tree. And I wouldn't have a problem with the structure if it was, you know, in the yard on the other side of the yard wall or on another facade. But this one with the symmetrical placement of the windows and the really basic form, I feel like it's just not a good match for this primary facade.
Thank you, Member Beachside. Member Benvenue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, yeah, I'm still trying to fit this into a category, and it seems to me that because this does not meet, well, because we don't have a specific provision for a freestanding structure like this, I think I feel obligated to look at the standards that apply to the next closest thing, which would be in this case a portal or an addition. And I think this would be clearly prohibited if we called it one of those things. So to me, just removing it several inches from the wall doesn't relieve the structure of the obligation to meet those specific design standards. Even if as a freestanding structure, I think that the code requires that it be in harmony with the existing building and neighborhood in terms of colors and materials, which I do not think this is. And as far as how it affects the facade, I agree with the last comment that the applicant was suggesting that the facade was stark and needed to be broken up. But if I read the survey correctly, the facade was considered to be, the simplicity of the facade was considered to be its most significant feature. So I think it's important to retain that stark simplicity of the front facade, which this actually obstructs. So for those reasons, I would not be able to approve this application.
Thank you, Member Benvenue. Member Guida, did you have something further?
Yes, just a small point about the word matching that's come up tonight. And it's a design concern more than it is a code or legal concern here. And as a member of the design community, as an architect, I would implore the board to think beyond matching when we consider projects like this that have an intent to contrast something that is clearly an expression of its time with something that's historic, and draw a clear line between the two. I think we all know from getting dressed in the morning that matching is probably the least common denominator of getting dressed and going out into the world. But there are more sophisticated ways to dress and coordinate and create harmony in our outfits. The same is true in architecture, and the same is true when we're dealing with historic architecture. So thinking about this a little bit more broadly, I think is in order.
Thank you, Member Guida. Member Benvenue.
Yeah, I appreciate that about matching, but my comment was directed to just the code provision, which in 5.2E2 says recent Santa Fe style intends to achieve harmony with historic buildings by retention of a similarity of materials, color, proportion, and general detail. That's what I'm referring to that I don't think this achieves.
Thank you. Board members, thank you for your comments, and I will entertain a motion at this time. I see Member Guida has his hand up, and so does Member Benvenue.
Sorry, I meant to lower mine.
Okay. Motion, please.
I meant to move my hand down. I'm sorry, it was still
Okay.
up.
Member Katz. Member Katz, you have your hand up, and if you would unmute.
All right. In case number 2020-002326 at 640 Garcia Street, for the reasons just expressed by John Bienvenu, I would move to deny the application.
Is there a second to this motion? Member Benvenue.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Yes, Member Beachside? Member Beachside?
Sorry,
Member
yes,
Beachside? Okay.
yes,
Okay, Member Bienvenue?
Yes.
Member Guida?
No?
Vice Chair Katz?
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you very much. And applicant, you do have the option to appeal to the city council, or you do have the option to resubmit something different.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And board members, thank you very much. And that was the last case this evening. And next we have anything under discussion items. Lisa?
I have no discussion items.
No discussion items. Any matters from the board?
Yes.
Yes, Member Katz.
I noticed that the old Garrett's Desert Inn has an awful lot of very unattractive rooftop appurtenances. I'm uncertain what our jurisdiction is. I thought that we did approve the breezeway, the new fancy breezeway. And if we had authority to do that, we would have approved this rooftop stuff. And I would like guidance from staff on that.
Comments, Lisa?
Madam Chair, I would have to look back at that application in which the board approved the porte cochere redesign to see if there was any rooftop appurtenances associated with that proposal. I don't have a specific memory of that, and I'm not aware of the new rooftop appurtenances. So I can certainly look into it further.
Yeah, can you look
Lisa,
into it and let us know for the next meeting?
Is this a
Sally?
state project? I remember it being a state project.
It is owned by the land office and leased to these folks for 20, 40, 60 years.
So as I recall, the ownership is under the state, but it is under a private, it's being operated under a private lease. And so we were treating it as a private application.
Thank you for refreshing my recollection.
Okay, thank you. Member Guida?
Yeah, I guess I don't remember whether we reviewed it as a case or if it was just like a courtesy thing.
No,
It came through as a case?
remember it came to us as a case.
Okay.
That's what my recollection is. And I don't remember any rooftop equipment. And talking about rooftop appurtenances,
Take a look at it. It's quite a treat.
well, there are rooftop appurtenances that really are prominent at the Inn at Loretto, at the lower buildings, at the street. And those have been there for ages, and they are just, they are not very attractive, I'll put it that way. Okay, Member Benvenue?
I'm sorry. Lowering my hand.
Okay, friends and neighbors, if we have nothing further, we can adjourn the meeting, and we are at 7:20.
All right.
So good night, and we'll see you in about another 2 weeks. You behave yourselves and stay safe.
Night,
And you
everybody.
Thanks,
guys-
everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah, good night, everybody.